Hello, world! What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. The critically acclaimed STARZ original series Counterpart returns this Sunday for its second season. This show is awesome. The spy-fi high-concept thriller so effectively grounds its drama that you never once really stumble over the idea of there being an alternate parallel Earth. At the onset of Season 2, the crossing is closed. People are stranded on each other's worlds. Lots of questions are being asked, and things are getting intense. Here to help sort it all out and tell me what it's like working with not one, but two J.K. Simmonses. There we go. The great Harry Lloyd is in the building, people. How about that? Make some noise for Harry. He is awesome. Do it up. So excited he's here. We're going to bring him out in just a second. But before we do, I believe we have a quick look at Season 2. So let's go ahead and run that clip. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. The great Harry Lloyd is right here. Let's do it up. Come on. There he is. This show, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm going to say it a bunch of times. Kicks ass. I love this show, man. It's so good. Congratulations.
Very much.
Season 2, that's fantastic this Sunday. Very exciting times. I'm looking forward to getting in, talking to you all about it. First and foremost, how are you doing, man? How's life? How's press going? How is Harry right now?
Harry's doing fine.
Harry's doing fine?
Harry enjoys being in New York. Yeah, we were just in LA for the Season 2 premiere on Monday night. Which went down really well. It was great to see it on the big screen. I'd only seen it on a laptop.
I was going to say, yeah, that's got to be different than how you're used to experiencing it, seeing it large format like that.
I got to be honest, it's the show that, obviously, it's great if you could watch all TV on a huge screen. But the detail, even in like the sound, I notice things now, and it's getting really complicated, and all the little decisions they make in post. It really pays you back when you watch it in a cinema.
That's a really good point. I think a lot of people, you jump to right away, oh, it's on a larger screen so you can notice little details visually, but like also everything in there is larger than life when you see it in a theater like that, including the sound, and you get to really hear the design and everything that goes into all those details. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying before, and the fact that it's a sci-fi show, but the idea of it is that you forget the one science fiction aspect is that the world got copied 30 years ago. Okay, and then live with it. Just put that aside for 1 second and go with it. And all the details in terms of all the performances they're getting from this incredible cast and the lighting and the sound and the special effects, it's all just about helping sell it and making it really real so you can invest in this preposterous idea.
Yeah, and everyone is giving it 110%. I was reading, I forget which article it was that pointed it out, but I didn't even catch this, that even like the lighting between, and I don't mean like the lighting on set, I mean like the physical lighting in the world, like their lamps are different from Alpha and Prime worlds. Like there's little details.
I know, I didn't know. I found out, someone told me, I think after Season 1, and I spoke to the designer, and he was like, yeah, of course, we have halogen bulbs in the other side, and we have normal wattage bulbs here. I was like, that's the kind of stuff you're doing.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Of course you do. How silly of me. It's just so cool to see that level of care and attention to detail, especially, you know, on television. All right, let's dial it back a notch, man. You're no stranger to high concept genres. You've done a lot of fun stuff before. How'd you get involved with this show? How did this come to pass?
I read the script for the first episode of Counterpart a couple of years ago when I was back in London, having been in America for a while, thinking I'm going to work in England for a bit because my furniture has literally just arrived back in London. And I read this script and I was like, oh no, this is really good. And then I made a tape with my little brother, who, thank you very much, Tom, helped me get the part.
Tom's a big fan of the show. Tom watches I don't know if he told you that. So he's watching right now, and so thank you.
Hey, bro. Yeah. So sent in a tape, and then they really wanted me to come over and meet, and I was doing a play, so I couldn't, so I did another tape. And I got to Skype with Justin, the kind of creator, and he told me all about Season 1. He told me all about the big twist for Quayle in Season 1, and I was just in awe of just the detail already. He had it all mapped out. And I just, from the moment I read it, frankly, I was like, this is something I want to be involved in.
That's pretty amazing. And he told you, in this world where secrecy has become and spoiler culture has become such a big thing, he was telling you right from day one, here is the full story, we've written this out. How far ahead does he let you see? How far ahead do you know?
Well, for Season 1, it was, because it spent so long time developing it, he basically had 10 episodes written, but before we started. So I got to see a script, I think, for episode 7 before I even signed on, which when you're signing up for potentially 7 years of your life is lovely, because so often you get a script and you have to go on that, and then hopefully the rest of it lives up to it. But I felt so confident in it because he knew what he was doing.
That's pretty amazing. I was going to draw a parallel between that and your work when you were on Game of Thrones, but now that I think about it, you were in season 1. I don't know if spoiler culture was kind of the same back then, and you had the books, so everyone kind of already knew what was going to happen.
But with Game of Thrones, I had this audition a few days later, and I didn't have time to read the books. I read the pilot, and I thought, this is phenomenal. And so I just Wikipedia'd my character, and it said, Viserys Targaryen, nasty brother of Daenerys, gets killed with gold. And I was like, okay.
All right.
I was like, that sounds like quite a fun character. So I knew from the start that was the deal. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. You went in with that nasty brother, killed with gold. Got it. Everything I need right here. Perfect. Was there? I'll come back to this in a second. Was there any sense, though, at the time that you were doing that you were a part of what would become like one of the biggest shows in television? Do you guys have any sense of that at all?
No, I was just really excited that they were making it with the geeky detail they were making it, and with the scale that they were making it. And I said, I don't know if anyone's going to follow this. I don't know if anyone can follow it, but for the handful of people who are going to check out this little show, I think they're going to have a great time. And in a way, it made me I was kind of inspired by the fact that it did become so popular, and it never compromised how complex the characters or the storylines are, and it never diluted it from the books. It kept it really intense, and people have followed it. More than followed it. They've championed it. So that makes me feel good about TV watches, I think.
Have you kept up with it? Have you been watching since you left the show?
Yeah. I mean, it's great because now, especially since the books and the TV show kind of diverged, I'm like everyone else waiting.
We were just lamenting a moment ago before you came out here. We just realized Jason Momoa was here like a day ago for Aquaman, and we're like, oh, if they were only here, if universe could have aligned.
Oh, that would have been.
Do you
great.
keep up? Do you get to see anybody from? Do you ever cross paths doing these kinds of things? Have you seen him so far?
I bumped into Richard Madden, hadn't seen for a while, at something a few months ago, which was really fun. I haven't seen Jason for ages, but his hugs are dangerous. So if I bumped into him here before, I would be bruised.
That man does give dangerous hugs, 100%. We talked about how this show, part of the fun is and why it works is because of how grounded it is. I was curious, can you talk about what you feel like a responsibility as an actor to help achieve that level of groundedness, to help make it feel real? Like there's a great scene in season 1, The Birthday, where you confront Claire and you have this crazy argument. I'm trying not to reveal anything for people that haven't seen season 1 here. But how do you get to where you need to be in a scenario like that where it is such an outlandish scenario? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so sci-fi heavy.
Yeah.
Kind of not, I guess, when you break it down. But I'm curious, you see that scene, this is how I have to respond to this moment in time. I have to have this kind of fight and this kind of confrontation. How do you find your way to the reality of that?
Sure. I mean, in terms of Peter and his wife, Claire, the reality of the situation is something that is quite hard to relate to, bearing in mind, spoiler alert, the woman you married is not the woman you married. Right. And has been impersonating her for 5 years, and you had a child with this actress, spy. So I guess in the nearest real life comparison is betrayal. It's the idea that you've been cheated on. But it comes from the writing. You have to be as detailed as possible, and you work out your backstory. We had a meeting, me and Naz, the actress playing Claire, sat down with Justin and Erin, and we worked out. Okay, so they met in this year. This is how, and we pieced together a full backstory, as you would as if you were rehearsing a play, even though Peter doesn't know that himself. And we worked out, hold on, so therefore, there was one thing that we changed for that birthday party scene, for example, in the speech where he's kind of trying to out her. Yeah. When he's saying, he's now found out who she really is, and he can't let it on. And he's saying, oh, Claire, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And he's testing her. And we changed the order of the questions after this conversation we had to make sure that he's going to start with a question about that birthday. Oh, she knows about that. Maybe he'll then ask her about that rugby match, just to see how far back it's been her, to see if he can catch her out. And he can't catch her out with anything. And then he makes him think, did I ever meet the other Claire? And but in terms of keeping ridiculous situations real, it's all just about kind of detail and a bit of homework.
What kind of homework going into season 2? Because I imagine season 1 there was a lot of world building and setting up the space, and there's a little bit. We're still adding on to that in season 2, based on what I've gotten to see. But season 1, that was the job. You had to tell everyone about this world, get them bought into it, and then kind of build it around. Is coming into season 2? Do you exhale a little bit? It's a little less of that. You're exploring more of the drama now. Is there a different vibe coming into it?
In some ways, yeah, you can play with what we've built. But in terms of the guy I'm playing, he cannot take a breath. He is in deep doo-doo. And he, in terms of like preparation for this season, actually I made a point of getting my head around the full logistics of the story, but then very much just trying to play each individual scene quite separately, because he has to be someone different now with almost everyone. He has scenes with Naya Temple, this new character that Betty Gabriel plays. He has scenes with Howard, scenes with his wife. And none of them get the same truth as the next person. So in a way, every scene, he's just surviving, and he's running, and he's saying what he needs to say, and hopefully not giving anything away. And the audience maybe will pick up on his discomfort. But his job is to just get by, because he's trying to play both sides. Yeah. And he himself even knows that's not going to last long.
Which is kind of fascinating to watch, because J.K. has the luxury of at least getting 2 different people to play 2 different sides, and he's doing all these different things, which I want to get into that in a second. I know you can't reveal if we're going to get to see Peter's other or not, but in season 1, it's known that we don't. Were you bummed at all that you didn't get to do that in season 1, that you didn't get to confront yourself or have a moment with yourself?
I think there was enough definitely going on for Peter in season 1 that I was quite happy to not go down that road.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing we were all told very early on in the same meeting before we did the first read-through, we all sat around a table in LA in late 2016, I guess. And he told, and Justin, the creator, gave us this document about these are the details of passport control and the crossing and all these, like, he built this whole, in this redacted document. And then he told us about the origin of the crossing, and he said, we're not necessarily going to meet all of your others right now, but you all have one, and if you want, I'll tell you a bit about them, even if the audience may or may not meet them now or later. So I do know about Quayle's other. I know who he is, but whether you get to meet him anytime soon is something I'm not allowed to say.
That's really interesting. Does that inform then decisions you make about would it be your prime or your alpha version?
Alpha.
Your alpha version, yeah.
Yeah, no, weirdly, I thought about it and I thought, actually, you know what, he doesn't know about him, so actually that shouldn't change what I'm doing. And that's something for the storytellers. That's not my job. I just need to sell this guy's path. Yeah. And hopefully the contrasts and similarities is something the audience can get once you zoom out a little bit. Yeah.
What was it like working with J.K. on this and doing those scenes where he had to be, the alpha and the prime, and you're...
Yeah, well, in season 1, that's when I had scenes with both of them, which I was really worried about. But it was actually really simple in the end. Once we'd figured out the technology, how it works with camera, and J.K. always liked to shoot one of them first, often prime first, I think. Well, depending on who had the most meat in the scene, I think he liked to do that one first, rather than going back and forth and changing constantly. Right. Shoot that guy out, and then we end up with the master, which is the shot where they're both in. That's when he goes and changes, does that, and then goes into the coverage of the other guy. And he's got his stand-in is John Funk, this brilliant actor who knows all the lines for both of them and does all the rehearsals, sees what J.K. does in the rehearsals for each of them, and plays the other guy. Yeah. So you're still doing a scene with 3 actors, and John is really good, and J.K. is very kind of clear on what he wants to do. So you can still throw it around, and you can still play with it.
Yeah. Are you running it for both versions for Alpha and Prime?
I don't get a stand-in. It's all me. I'm doing it for both of them. But yeah, and then you just kind of marry the footage together. It was actually really straightforward.
It sounds like a really smooth process. Was there extra rehearsal, you'd say, on this project than projects in the past because you're...
Yeah, I think starting out especially, they were really keen to make sure that not only can you sell this and it's realistic, but also that you don't draw attention to it. Some of my favorite scenes is just... In episode 1 of season 1, you've got that nice long scene between the 2 Howards. And there are different things. There are over-the-shoulder bits, but there are 2 shots, and there are moving handheld shots. And they just wanted to kind of do it so you don't really think about it. And you're not looking for the join or the special effect. You can just start to understand these as 2 separate characters, but the same person. And I think they did a pretty good job on that.
For sure. All right, we're gonna in just a minute. I'm getting the signal. We got a couple of questions from the audience. We're gonna turn over to those. But first, a little bit of trivia. I saw something on the internet, which means it's true. And you can confirm or deny this, but it seems like it's accurate here. That you are indeed the great grandson of Charles Dickens. Is that a fact? Is that true? That is correct.
That is a fact.
Okay. First of all,
As far as I know.
yeah. Cool. Second of all,
Yeah.
that being said, I had to come up with some. I couldn't just bring that up. I have to justify me bringing that up in my own curiosity here. You know, holiday season approaching. Is Christmas? Is there an extra pressure in your household to live up to the legacy of your great-great-grandfather? Or do you avoid Christmas because of it? How has it impacted your decision as an individual around this time of year? Having that kind of that lineage.
Wow. Yeah, I've never been asked that. I don't know. I love Christmas. I don't know if it's because of old Chucky D looking down at me, or whether it's just a good time of year. But you know what? Weirdly, I bumped into my cousin at the airport flying over here, Ollie Dickens. I was like, dude, what are you doing in Heathrow? How random. And he was like, I'm off to Galveston, Texas, where they have Christmas on the Strand every year, and they often get a member of my family. And this year, it's him, and it's lovely, my cousin. He's like in his early 20s, and he's going to get dressed up. He's going to do readings. He's going to be heralded and he's probably right now on a horse and cart somewhere in Texas. So there's all kinds of fun, and we have great family dinners often, and my uncle who sends out like a newsletter, and there's a family tree. And the best thing about it, honestly, is I know loads of my cousins that I wouldn't otherwise. We've got something we don't really talk about Dickens, frankly, but we all get together every now and again.
Can you imagine your uncle stressing over writing the family newsletter for the Dickens family?
The pressure is high.
It's pressure's high. There's a bar that's been set.
Oh, absolutely. But if you have enough news to kind of get in there, you scroll down, you get through the news. Harry is actually about to appear in a TV show. And I'm like, yes. So the family are watching.
Made it above the fold in the family newsletter. It's fantastic. Well, congratulations again, season 2, and this show. I can't say enough good things about it. For those tuning in at home, its second season premieres Sunday on STARZ at 9. You could also get it in STARZ has the app. You can go Amazon Prime. You could add STARZ. So there's like a trillion ways you could watch the show, and you absolutely should. It's one of the best shows on television. That said, we've got a couple of questions. First one is going to be right over here. Go for it.
Hi. So you've done a lot of different roles in both kind of realistic roles and then also kind of these more sci-fi fantasy roles. So I was wondering if, as an actor, if you preferred, which kind of worlds do you prefer to occupy, if any?
I think what I really enjoy doing is when in a show like this, you get to combine it. When you have some ridiculous premise and you've got to sell it, and you've got the help from a great production team, writing and everything, that they really care about these kind of details. But when the world itself is slightly removed from ours and you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of reality, I quite like having both those things together, I think. Yeah.
It's a great question. Thank you. Next one's coming from right over on our green couch.
Hi. So since this show is about somebody meeting their other universe person, their doppelganger of another universe, I was wondering if you had the chance to encounter yours, if one existed, would they be considered your enemy or your friend?
I think I would start off thinking, wow, this is my best friend. And then I would get to know the guy and realize that he's probably my enemy, which I think is often something that the show is talking about. I think season 2 definitely is... Justin, we had dinner the other night, and Justin was saying he only realized it just now, but the theme for season 2 is the fact that this is war, and you got to pick a side. You can't pretend that these can coexist. So I think I would probably turn up and meet my other with high expectations and be thoroughly disappointed. I would try not to kill him, but like, we'll see how we go.
You gotta set the bar a little higher than try not to kill him.
We would try and live separately, but maybe we'd text every now and again. But I don't think we'd be like full-on buddies. No.
You don't think, at least within the first 24 hours, you'd play some kind of hilarious practical joke somewhere? I mean, here you have a twin. You've never had this before.
I suppose, we could.
You've got to start with that.
Yeah, I could mess with my brother, for example.
And there you go. And then it devolves from there.
Yeah.
And you get to the... All right. Seriously though, that's one of the things that I do love about this show is, and I was saying this in the green room, is that it is technically this high concept sci-fi show, but it's asking these really like real human questions of like, what is your true self? How do you define that? And what are the consequences of the different decisions and actions you take? And it's just like all these really interesting ideas that it explores. And there's a parallel Earth. Like that's all just behind.
And some car chases.
Yeah, and some car chases and stuff in there in between as well. Great question. We're going to do one more. So we've got one more question. Come right on down.
Hi, can you tease season 2 in 3 words?
Pick a side.
Well done.
Yeah, I think that's... Yeah.
There you go. That's it. Need not say more. Yes.
The problem is, I want to say so much more.
Yeah,
Season
I can
2,
imagine.
I can't believe this. I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite ever jobs. And season 2 is bigger and badder and it's just more detailed than the first season. And there's so much I want to tell you, and I can't.
I guess we're just going to have to watch the show. The entire reason you came to hang out today. Perfect. There we go. Guys, we need you to watch this show. Head on over Sunday. Second season premieres, 9 p.m. on STARZ, or find it on demand. And please, trust me, you won't regret it. This thing's amazing. Thank you so much once again. Everybody join me. Be an awesome audience and show some love for the great Harry Lloyd right here, man.